I'm the giver.
Yo,
Hey,
shoot some
hey.
guys.
I'm still sick.
Man, the splash screen looks like a cut out from Dead Space 2 or something. And they're about to jam that thing in his eye. It's gonna freak me out.
Wow, this is a really
Oh, I
weird
did not
place
know
to
that.
Start.
So yeah, so I picked this game because I felt like this is I think this is the last PS2 Ratchet game. Um, yeah, and it was my recollection, and I'm sure people will disabuse me of this. My recollection was that it was poorly received.
No, I agree with you. I think
Because
game.
yeah, because it was they changed sort of the whole paradigm, right? So they released like 3 games in a row, kind of all played similarly. There were evolutions between them, and then they did this, which was at least in the last couple of those. There was like an arena section that you could play in a bunch of those games. And they were like, let's just do a whole game of that kind of thing, which I was excited about because I liked those arena challenges in the middle of the game. So I was like, this will be cool. And I enjoyed this game, but I felt like I never heard anybody that liked it at all.
Well, I agree with you, Kurt, that this game, as far as I'm aware, had a really bad rep, and I also thought it was pretty good. Because this is so the first 3 games are basically platformers with guns in, and as the games go on from 1 to 3, the guns get more important and they flesh out the controls and things.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first game has guns, but there's no like level up system or any of that kind of stuff. They're just like whatever gun you get, it just does whatever it does. And then like in the second game, they started like, well, the more you use the gun, it'll evolve and become more powerful and do additional stuff and all that stuff.
I want to say the controls for shooting were really rudimentary in the first game.
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely true. It's definitely was focused.
They added like behind the back strafing if you held down a button in like 2 and 3, I want to say. But this game takes things to a whole other level where the controls are completely reworked, and then they took the criticisms to heart because they abandoned the system in the more recent game. But this game is like basically a third-person shooter the way it controls like it's
it's a mission-based like arena shooter with sort of kind of cool. The one thing that I think doesn't get noted in I keep wanting to say Naughty Dog, Insomniac's games is that I think they're really inventive about weapons.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, that was a really big part of the advertising campaign for all of the Ratchet and Clank games back in the day.
I would like the reason to play them was so many cool guns.
Yep.
Yeah.
The bouncer is still one of the best video game weapons ever created.
God, I love a fully upgraded bouncer, and you just start pumping grenades out, and it just goes bananas. It's so much fun. That's actually one thing. The one thing I really did miss in this game was that you didn't have, just like random boxes that you could like.
Smash.
Once you'd powered up your wrench and just like jump down and like slam down on a giant pile of boxes and just get that satisfying repetitive ching 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 sound as you picking up like thousands of bolts. So you don't get that.
So the other notable.
Yeah.
Oh, it's auto scrolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should show a regular level after this because this is totally not what the game is like.
Yep.
How do you know, man? If you never played one of these, you can't even make the comparison.
Superficially,
at the time you just didn't. Right. Right. You'd chosen your side.
Did you play Sly Cooper? Okay. That game's also pretty cool.
Those are also great.
Yeah. You should play I would say the third one is probably if you're
Up
gonna
Your Arsenal.
Up
Out
Your
of these, Up Your
definitely
Arsenal is good.
back.
And then if you go PS3 era, like Kraken Time, I think is really good.
Yeah. I think the third one ended up being my favorite. I don't know.
The one that's tied into the movie was just a remake of the first one.
Right. There's like an HD collection.
And it's totally fine. There is an HD collection.
That is okay.
Yeah, there's an HD collection that collects the PS2 games.
I wonder if that updates the controls also.
I think it does. It's been a while. I got it when it came out and I played a bunch of it, but I think it adapts them, to use the newer controls. The HD remake or the game, the movie oriented like remake of the first one is actually pretty nice because it sort of updates things to more like the second and third games.
Yeah.
While still keeping sort of the basic, setup.
It's a PlayStation 3 thing also, Joe, to answer your question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally loan you that. I think I have it on disc.
So the other thing that's important about this game, which is kind of too bad, Joe, I don't think you got a chance to try it out, but it is the only Ratchet game that has co-op all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised when I went back to it and fired it up. I was like, no, this still looks decent, for the era. I'd say that's probably right. Yeah. So you get released onto like a world and you play through sort of 4 or 5 missions to kind of work your way through the world from one end to the other, and then when you get to the end of that, then they open up challenges, which are like remixes and different battle scenarios within that world. But you can also just sort of move on to the next world. But after a while, you've got to do at least some of those challenges to get enough to unlock other stuff. And then but as we were saying, like it has the weapon upgrade stuff, and it's the one of the things I really like about that whole mechanism is like it's all based on like how much you use it. So if you want to upgrade like a weapon that you use a lot, it will upgrade really fast, and then you'll get that'll get really powerful. But you can sort of mix and match. Okay, I want some like direct firepower. You can get rocket launchers. You can get turrets that you can throw out, like passive things and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different variety for how you want to approach things. Right. Yep. Yeah, and you can get mods and you can like attach like shock mods to things or ice mods, and they'll do different things. Yeah. Right. Yep. I rarely use the shield launcher thing, but the turret launcher is good, especially when you're fighting like bosses, because you can just like litter them around, like throw a bunch of them out, and then switch to an actual weapon and start going to town while they do their thing too. Yep. Yeah, there's a whole running thing about Courtney Gears, who is like the equivalent of Courtney or not Courtney, Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera. Yeah, it's just like this intergalactic pop star, and there's a whole thing in Up Your Arsenal
It
where
was kind of topical back then.
yeah, a little bit.
Topical-ish. In Up Your Arsenal, they actually do like a full music video about how the robots will exterminate all organic life. But
Yep.
it's like Britney Spears video. It's pretty good.
Yeah, they do a nice job with that. I guess that's the other thing in this one is that they give you, so you don't have Clank. That's a thing, right? So that's one of the things that's different about this versus the other like mainline Ratchet games is you don't have that platforming stuff like with Clank where you can do double jumps or any of that kind of stuff. But instead they give you like 2 robot buddies that hang out with you and do stuff, and you can upgrade them too. Yep. Agreed. Yeah, and when you upgrade on some weapons, at least the shock thing will actually shoot out to other adjacent enemies too. Yeah. Yep. The magma cannon. It is definitely a go-to.
Yeah, I would say I think most of the Ratchet and Clank games kind of have a bread and butter weapon.
Right.
You kind of
Yeah, you have your I mean, it doesn't have good long distance, so right. So you have like
right.
the I can't remember the pulse
Like a
rifle or
double
whatever it is.
pistol or whatever.
Right.
It's a little-
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the mag mode launcher is by far the best gun. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's related to the electric shock on it. Yeah, but I mean, you see how fast it takes down those dudes. It's real nice for crowd control. It can be, yeah. Yep. Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's sort of I think one of the things that makes this enjoyable is that it's I mean at least on the difficulty level you're playing with and the weapons that you have and stuff it's not necessarily super challenging, but yet the gunplay and stuff is satisfying. You just sort of wade into these dudes and start mowing into all the mooks, and then they'll drop like one of those dudes. You got to kind of back off a little bit and work your way around and stuff. And it's not all. It doesn't all. I mean, I guess you showed the like one of the like Walker levels earlier. I was going to say it's not all just this kind of stuff too. They have like somewhere in like flying vehicles and somewhere in those like Walker things, different setups, and then there's just like big boss battles that you have to do and stuff. So yeah, that's true. At least they're not that difficult.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, Joe. How do you find the non-driving controls? Because this is a pretty weird game from that point of view.
The controls are inverted by default, which is horrifying. Yeah, left and right are inverted by default. Maybe it auto maps it.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. When I played it, it was backwards. I had to change it. Yeah, you can change it. So.
Yep.
Gross.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Gross.
So you were gonna say something about emulation?
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'd never played this game before, so I decided to just try it out in an emulator so we could talk about it. And I played it for about an hour, and then I also played a little bit of Up Your Arsenal, and
Man,
all
the
of
game is
the
good.
Ratchet and Clank games, for whatever reason. So like PCSX2, which is the like PlayStation 2 emulator du jour. I don't. It might even be the only like really functional one out there. I don't know, but right, like it will. So can use your video card to do the 3D rendering, or can emulate it in software. And like emulating it, the software emulation is more authentic to the PlayStation 2, but it also makes the game run slow, which is a real shame because one of the best things about these games is that they're all like 60 frames a second on the PlayStation
Yeah.
2. Super
They
smooth.
run
And
beautifully.
Yeah.
they really like for how much stuff is going on and for how good they are or how good they look. They just
Yeah, they've optimized the shit out of these things. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, all of these are
Yeah.
super smooth and yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best things about it. So playing a version of the game where the frame rate isn't a stable 60 is kind of a bummer. And then if you try and emulate it in the hardware mode, like most modern graphics cards can't handle they can't properly interpret the way that these games did MIP mapping. So you just get a bunch of like MIP mapping is like the thing where it like uses lower resolution version of texture the farther a thing is from your character.
Okay.
Right.
And so when you're playing it on PCSX2 in hardware rendering mode, it's like the things that are really close to your character look really good. And in fact, because you can, double the internal rendering resolution, they look super sharp and amazing. But things that are far away from your characters just have these weird garbage textures that are just like, it's just like a bunch of random nonsense because it doesn't know how to properly MIP map that stuff. The stuff where it would normally, use lower resolution textures to make the game run smoother.
So
apparently nobody's figured out how to fix that.
the long range rifle is good against those ships. Oh, okay.
So if you want to play these,
That would explain it.
You still have to play them on the proper hardware. But like since there was that collection on PlayStation 3, like that seems like probably a pretty damn good way to go about it.
It's also on Vita, I think.
Yeah, it's on the Vita also.
I don't think it's like perfect, but probably totally adequate.
Yeah.
I know,
or what's the PlayStation 3 one, Kurt? I know you mentioned it
There's
earlier.
two of them. There's actually there's more than two. There's a Kraken
There's a bunch
Time.
of them. Kraken Time is the one I'm thinking of. That
Yeah, it's called
that's
All for One.
Or yeah, All for One. We
All
were always
for
going
One.
to play that, but we never
Tools
got
of
around to it.
Tools of Destruction is the
Yeah,
first
Crack-
PS3 one. Crack in Time is the second one, and Crack in Time is better.
Yeah, I would say Crack in Time might actually be the best.
That's probably what I would fall to.
Yeah, I was kind of
to choose one.
yeah. The second one, the third one, and a Crack in Time are all really fantastic. I think that the
Yep.
biggest thing
Yep.
for me was I had kind of like by the time I got to a Crack in Time, I'd already played the first three, and it just like
They're a little samey.
I was a little burned
Yeah,
out
you
on
need
them.
you need a little bit of delay. Or
Yeah,
there's also there's like two others. There's a like a downloadable like sort of shorter one called Quest for Booty. That
Mhm.
yeah, and that's
Kinda,
totally
yeah.
good. That's totally fine. And then there's one called Full Frontal Assault that
Yeah, I
is
never played that
like
one.
a if I remember correctly, that one is the one that's kind of like a horde mode-y kind of like Gears thing.
Okay.
I'm trying. Yeah, but even more like build your base and
Right, defend it from waves of enemies. That kind of
yeah, yeah. And that was all like multiplayer and all that stuff. God, and there's Into the Nexus. I don't even remember
There's
that.
a million of those. Is that the
It's
PSP
kind
one?
of like the mini.
No, it's
PS3
PS3.
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
I don't know. I
The
didn't
Quest
play
for
it.
Booty was like the half-size downloadable one.
Yeah.
That had like the light dark stuff that was going on.
I didn't like that one very much.
I'm trying to find.
I don't remember why. I
apparently-
mean, again, these games all blend
apparently
together in my
Nexus-
head. They're
Right. Yeah.
The fourth of the mainline PlayStation 3 one, which I never played because
Yeah.
I think I was pretty much done with them by then. But yeah, there's a ton. There's some like couple of mobile games too. I think there's one that's like
Yeah.
a big platformer kind of thing, and then maybe like an endless runner, and then there's another one that's kind of like a really just like a bad
Right.
Ratchet and Clank game. I don't know.
Yeah. So the collection is $22.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. Yeah.
This is. I think that these are also the best
And that's-
of the Insomniac games.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
might be
I
good.
am guardedly optimistic.
It looked like they may have been infested by QTEs in a way that didn't necessarily appeal to me based on that trailer, but we'll see. Hmm. Hmm.
those things are pretty sweet.
Good.
Nice.
That's right,
Nice.
I think. Hmm.
Right. Right. Yeah.
For that stuff, it's way more reliable. Like when the newer stuff is the stuff that's like actually, I feel like from all of the PlayStation 2 games that I've tried, both out of my collection, on CDs and also stuff that I've downloaded to screw around with, like this has actually been the ones that have been the worst, which is a real bummer because they're some of the best games on the PlayStation 2. And like I said,
Yeah. Right.
like I went and got my disc for Up Your Arsenal, and I sat down. I was thinking, like, man, maybe I'll just play this game again. But it's just is I can either play it at a real reduced frame rate, or with all that ugly garbage all over the place.
That's drag.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry, Joe. What were you saying? You were saying just the accuracy of the emulation is just better. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some FX stuff isn't quite right either in some cases. I think most of that did, but
Right.
yeah.
I don't understand what's happening.
So have they said like what other things that Super NT is going to be emulating? Like other right. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't mean that they had said, but just like if there was scuttlebutt on what other things that might do. Stuff. I think it'll work. Yeah. Alright. Yeah. All right. But I wondered if there was if somebody had come out and said what maybe some of that stuff might be, but I'm gonna wait and see what that'll do before. Yeah. Yeah, but now he has an incentive not to just do all that stuff for free. Yeah, well, he didn't work for them when that came out. I don't think, did he? Oh, did he? Hmm. Okay. We can mess around with it. Anyway. Oh, cool. Are you controlling that ship? Or is
Yeah.
that must not be an auto scrolling thing, right?
No, you should be using your missiles.
Yeah.
That you can take those big guys down a lot
Can we
faster with a
talk
bunch of
about how
missiles.
mind blowing the round, like the spherical worlds and what the arsenal was? In
They were. They
2002
totally
when the
were.
game came out. Yeah. Before Mario Galaxy, there was Ratchet and Clank up your arsenal.
I just want to say the vehicle stages in these games are never the main feature, but generally I think they're competent and they just make for a nice little change.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, it's like a classic. You do a vehicle section, you do a turret section. That
You drink some
that sort of
whiskey
stuff
drink.
has been in shooters.
Yeah, it's a
forever
staple,
because
yeah.
just meant to be like a little bit of a palate cleanser, so you're not
Right.
just doing the platforming stuff.
Yeah, you got the skill point.
Although speaking of PlayStation 2 emulation and third-person shooters, just for shits and giggles, I played like an hour of Kill Switch yesterday. Kill dot switch. Say my name. Man, that game is pretty fucking rough. Although it's weird to go back. Like there had been other games with cover systems before that came out, or games where you could take cover. But I don't know if there have been games where you could fire out of cover in quite the same way. Right.
Right.
The way it was in that, and it was weird to play that game because I had not played it, I don't think, since like around the time that it came out. Certainly not since I spent probably 1,000 hours playing Gears of War multiplayer across the various iterations, and also all those other weird third-person shooter offshoots like uh like 50 Cent Blood on the Sand and Army of Two and all those other various weird offshoots. But man, it really made me appreciate how really good and precise the cover mechanic in Gears of War is, and how
Yeah.
bad it is in most other games. Just like
Yep.
in Gears, you push a button and you like magnetize to the wall, and even in like that game is much more similar to what a lot of those other games do, where you have to like push up against the wall and then hold the button to go and cover, and then it's just like it's hard to tell when you're in and out, and it's hard to get in and out smoothly. And also the way that you push away from the wall in Gears is really good. to let you do wall bouncing and stuff like that. And it's just whenever I play any of the other games, they just feel like sticky and kludgy kind of. But man, that is a fucking ugly game. Also,
Yeah, the PlayStation 2 is a pretty varied console when it comes to.
yeah, it's really striking. Yeah, it's especially so if it weren't for the garbage textures, like playing this bumped up to like 4 or 6 times the normal rendering resolution, like it just looks fucking sharp and amazing. Like the animation
Yeah.
is still really good.
I
Like
mean, the
some of the
animation's
textures,
good.
when they're
The
right,
art
are
direction is
great,
good.
but yeah, it's like the texture work is like simple enough that it up-reses really well. And I have a feeling that those PlayStation 3 HD collections probably look really fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
But compared to Kills.Switch, which is a contemporary of these games, which is just like muddy and brown and ugly, like there's nothing you could do to make that game look good, unfortunately.
Right.
For PS2 games. Yeah. Yeah, it looks good.
So yay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I have to say, I'm like 80% of the way through it. Just was playing it in prep to talk about it, and I just kind of kept grinding on it. I was like, this is fun. I'm gonna keep playing more. Yeah. They do a really good job of sort of the little segments in each level are not super long, and the challenges are not super long, and then they're constantly if you're using a single weapon or you're focusing, you're getting upgrades pretty quickly, and so there's a lot of forward momentum that they do a good job with.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the one thing that I noticed going back is that the acceleration on the stick's a little weird. I mean, like the camera yeah, I meant that was more like in the way the camera rotated and stuff. It felt like it starts out real slow and then it gets real loose real fast or something. But it's okay. No. Yeah, it doesn't take long to mentally.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. There's the levels are designed so that you don't need to fuck with it very much, which is good.
Yeah.
You can swing it in one direction and go.
You should definitely play a Crack in Time or Up Your Arsenal.
Up Your Arsenal, yeah.
There's a fucking lot of games that came out in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
My game, Coffee's game,
my game,
Kurt's game. I think that's it, right? Well, maybe me and Coffee can do the game I gave him next week. He's gonna be around. Yes. All successes so far.
Yay!
And nice. That's great. I may actually be around next week, so
okay.
We'll see. Nice. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye.